What's good, everybody, and welcome to another monthly secret segment for the month of May. That's right, it is your Patreon exclusive episode where we talk about what you guys vote on. And this month, we got some really fun suggestions from you guys, so definitely keep them coming. We're going to store the ones that we don't use, like in a little vault somewhere, and pull them out eventually down the road and have you guys vote on them again. But this month, the people voted on, Brittany, drumroll.
Which books would you like to be turned into video games? So actually, that got 76 votes, and then just 4 votes behind that was biggest pet peeves in gaming.
Ooh, that was a close one.
That will be a good episode later, or
Yeah.
a good secret segment later.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a fun topic to talk about because we've talked about books on the show several times, most notably the Steel Bando incident.
The incident.
From one of my all-time favorites, the Powers That Be trilogy. But talking about books as video games, there's clearly been a lot of adaptations of books as movies and TVs, and then movies and TVs. TV and movies, and then those adaptations sometimes become video games. I think most notably you think about something like The Lord of the Rings, which became a cartoon a long time ago, and then it became a feature film series, and then it became a set of video games after that. But does anybody like have something ready off the top of their head that they're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this thing to be a video game?
Well, I have one that it was a video game and it sucked. So I have what I want to. I want
a do-over.
Yeah. So this was sort of like a movie tie-in when they tried to do this book series as a movie, which was the Golden Compass / his Dark Materials series. And I obviously this has resurfaced because I was watching Game of Thrones, and after the finale, they teased that they have a season coming up of his Dark Materials, and I was like, oh, HBO doing it?
So tell me about this. I saw the promo, and I was like, what is his Dark Materials? And John's like, wait a minute, aren't you like supposed to be super into fantasy lit? I'm like, yeah, but I'm into like really old fantasy lit. So tell me all about this. I'm super intrigued about it. And also it's related to the Golden Compass, like that kids movie that came out like several years ago.
Yes, the Golden Compass.
Okay.
So his Dark Materials is the name of the series of the book, similar to how like George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, and then there's the individual names. So the Golden Compass is the first book, and then there's the Subtle Knife. I can't remember which order the other two are in. Let me look them up really quick.
Just Amazon priming these for a trip right now.
It's the the Subtle Knife, and then the Amber Spyglass. And I'm gonna do a really shitty job trying to like summarize the plot because it's also been a fucking long ass time since I read these books. But I think one of the elements that I like a lot about this world, this fantasy world, is I think I've talked about this before on the show. Part of your soul is basically like outside of your body, and it's an animal, and it's called a daemon, and it can, when you are young, it like shape shifts into lots of different forms. And then once you kind of hit puberty, it sets into one form that it has for the rest of your life. And like no one else is supposed to touch it. Like they aren't really supposed to, like it's a very personal thing. Anyway, so like the Golden Compass movie that they tried to do, I honestly, it's been a long time. I don't even remember if I saw it because I was just like, this looks bad. This does not look.
Do you want me to look up the Wikipedia? I've got it right here.
I have, yeah, if you want. I didn't want to read. It's like got each book summarized. I'm like, I don't want to read like each book summary.
It says the fantasy elements include witches and armored polar bears. The trilogy also alludes to concepts of physics, philosophy, and theology. It functions in part as a retelling and inversion of John Milton's epic Paradise Lost, with Pullman, the author Philip Pullman, commending humanity for what Milton saw as its most tragic falling, original sin. The series has attracted controversy for its criticism of religion. The trilogy takes place across a multiverse, moving between many parallel worlds. In Northern Lights, the story takes place in a world with some similarities to our own. Dress style resembles that of the UK's Victorian era, and the technology has not evolved to include automobiles or fixed-wing aircraft, while Zeppelins feature as a notable mode of transport. The dominant religion has parallels with Christianity and is at certain points in the series, especially in the later books, explicitly named so. While Adam and Eve are referenced in text, particularly in The Subtle Knife, which Dust tells some characters something. The church called blah, 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 exerts a strong control over society and has some appearance and organization of the Catholic Church, but one in which the center of power has moved from Rome to Geneva and moved there by Pullman's fictional Pope John Calvin. Geneva, of course, home to the historical John Calvin.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a complicated story, and like there's elements of it. It's all about Lyra, actually pronounced. I'm terrible, but the story follows her and then eventually a dude, but he's from an alternate universe. And the Subtle Knife talks about like there's basically like a knife where you can kind of like cut between worlds, make portals between worlds. And the dust that he's referring to is like that's kind of like the main overarching thing of the books is the physics of dust, or like what it is and why it's basically like the universe is losing it and like they aren't sure why, and like the dust goes, what else goes, it's like there's a whole bunch of storylines and threads. So like I do think HBO, I hope like will do a better job with it than, I don't even remember who made the last movie, but it was terrible. And all of these books, oh hello helicopter / plane or whatever the fuck is really loud outside.
We don't hear it. We don't hear it. Only you hear it.
Well, I hear it. I was really loud and I was like, oh, surely this is being picked up. But no. Okay, great. Philip Pullman described Just in a 2017 interview as, quote, an analogy of consciousness, and consciousness is this extraordinary property we have as human beings. So it's like a weird element of the universe that also has a consciousness. It's bizarre. Anyways, it's cool. And I don't necessarily want the game to follow this storyline, but I do think it would be cool to have some sort of a third-person action adventure game where you are maybe like following along like a side element of one of these stories that is being told, or even like I don't know, maybe you would be the guy. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what exactly it would be. I'm not quite sure, because it would also be cool to use the Subtle Knife and like hop between worlds. That'd be sweet. But I love the idea of having the daemon. And the daemon is always like the opposite sex of whatever you are. So I'm a female, I'd have a male daemon. If I was a male, I'd have a female. And I think the daemon itself could be interesting for puzzles. Like if you had things going on, it would be like, all right, what shape do you want? What would your daemon take form of in order to like help you through this problem?
So they can change shapes?
Yes. When you're young, when you're like a teenager, you can, the daemon is fluid and can change like from a little rabbit to a hawk to a tiger to a whatever. Like it can be literally any animal. And
then eventually it stops changing.
Eventually it stops changing once you sort of set as like a human being and who you are. It becomes like a reflection of you. Yes. Yeah.
So if you're an asshole, you're gonna have like a mangy like hyena thing.
There are some really So he's writing more books. He just released another one that's sort of like related to this series. And I believe I have it on my shelf over there somewhere. But anyways, I read it and like there's like one of the daemons is like a really mangy hyena, and he
wait, really?
Yeah, and he like looks super fucked up and is like, it's really bizarre actually. Like that. And you find out part of why it's fucked up. But anyways, I think this would be a cool opportunity for a game. It's a really interesting universe. There's a lot of interesting gameplay elements you could do with it. But it's just a matter of like figuring out what storyline you would want to tell and getting that all together.
Mm-hmm. So when
read these books, because I think you would like them, and they're not that hard of reads.
Yeah, no, I was like, I've been looking, and like the trilogy set is sold out on Amazon, which is kind of crazy. You can of course buy the books individually, but I was like, do I just go to Barnes and Noble down the street and pick it up? Like,
yes.
Like at a real bookstore?
Are you a physical book purist?
Oh, you know I am. You've seen all the books in my house. When people are like, just get it on Kindle, I'm like, no. I'm the girl who brings the 15-pound hardcover book on trips with me, even though I have to lug it around because I hate reading on screens. Like, I absolutely have to have the paper. And I prefer hardcover, though I will take a paperback. Mass market paperback I'll take if I'm in a bind and I need it.
Literally,
but,
get it?
Yeah, pun intended. But like, I don't like mass market paperback. It's too small.
But there was for instance, I'm finishing off The Name of the Wind, which is a hardback, but I'm like, I have to finish this before London because I cannot fucking take this book with me.
It's so good. Oh, girl, you're going to want to immediately start
book.
The Wise Man's Fear once you finish The Name of the Wind, though.
Am I?
Yes. The Wise Man's Fear is a way better book, and The Name of the Wind is an excellent book.
Will I? Because I don't know. I this book is fine, but like I'm not champing at the bit for more.
Oh, no. How far are you into the book?
Like almost done. I have 100 pages left.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. You didn't like
Again,
it.
It's fine.
That makes me sad.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just like, meh.
I don't know if I've ever heard such hurt in Andrea's voice before.
I know, you're so bummed. I'm like, no, I'll lie to you. It's great. It's the best book I've ever read.
Don't lie to me. It's okay if we don't like the same things. You know, it's like when I
like it fine. I'm just not, again, like, in love with it.
It's not like a page turner for you. You're not like getting carpal tunnel from all the pages you're turning so rapidly.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
It's a solid book. I've enjoyed reading it when I'm reading it.
Right. So this topic is primarily for Andrea and Steimer, and I won't have. I don't. Okay, here's the thing. When I was younger, I used to, and I still love reading. I need to make this my new goal: is to set aside time for reading. And what I do read shouldn't always be zombie books. That's like the thing that I've always gone to ever since I discovered Resident Evil. So I was thinking about this. Like the last time I finished a book from start to finish, I don't even remember when that was. It's been years, and that makes me really sad to think about.
Brittany. Reading is so good for your brain.
Well, why do you think I am the way I am, Andrea? God, there's all the answers to your questions.
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
No, but seriously, seriously though, like I want to get back into reading. It's something that's always been really calming to me. I'm also a physical book purist. You know, whenever I would get a book, I don't like reading on the Kindle. I've tried it. I thought maybe if I had it on my iPad, it'd be more convenient, and then I'd be more apt to just like sit there and like start reading. But I just like can't get into it. And so that's something I really want to do. That said, the first book that fucking came to my mind was the goddamn Boxcar Children.
Oh my god!
I loved that series.
Me too.
Yes, I don't know what it was. Something about the way that they described the food in that book series.
Really, the food?
I don't know what it was. Yeah.
So specifically, the first one was the one I read probably a dozen times as a kid. And what I loved about it is I just loved when all the kids were on their own. Let's see, I had to look it back up. So you have Henry, who's 14, Jesse, who's 12, Violet, who's 10, and Benny, who is 5 or 6. It depends on what version of the book you're reading. And I loved when the kids were on their own and they had to survive in this boxcar and make this boxcar like their home. That was the thing. And there's one specific instance in this book where they have to put like the milk behind the river so it keeps cold. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. And then I never tried that because I figured it wouldn't actually work out very well. But I was young and impressionable. Anyway, something about that. And now that I recently finished A Plague Tale: Innocence, which focuses on a 14-year-old and a 5-year-old, it was actually very interesting for me to experience a game through the lens of children like that. And I think if you have these 1, 2, 3, 4 characters and they're 8, Henry's the one who goes to work and makes money. And Jesse's the one who I think takes care of the kids. And you have these different kids doing their different thing. If you could switch between them and try to like survive and make it decision based. So depending on what you do, maybe Benny gets kidnapped or some shit. I don't know. But I thought I never thought about this, but because like I said, I just played A Plague Tale. I'm like, that could be kind of interesting. And then I thought to myself, is this essentially Life is Strange 2?
Oh,
I was about to say, would you want it to be like a
narrative adventure?
Yeah, not so much. I'd want it to be more open, I guess, kind of maybe more survival elements to it, I think. But yeah, That's the one I get.
You like have a little whole boxcar community because you're so good at it. You're just like, yeah, we got like all these other, train husks out here. We're building a village, Boxcar Children.
We got like our lava lamp in the corner of the boxcar. We got like, our dinner over here. Yeah, I don't know. It could actually even be a sim if you think about it, depending on how you want to work it. But I think something more narrative based with decision making that impact the story with some survival elements in there could be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Deep cuts. It makes me think of the Goosebumps books and how good they would be as a video game series, like an episodic series of these really short things that are like old school, like walking adventure where you have to do puzzles and things like that. Kind of like the Are You Afraid of the Dark game on PC that I loved. That was like really, really old.
Actually, there's a Goosebumps adventure game that came out not that long ago. I played a little bit on the Switch.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Was it any good?
It was fun. Yeah. I mean, if you like the Goosebumps stuff, there's a lot of throwbacks to it, but it's an adventure game. And I had just got done playing another adventure game. And so my adventure fun meter had peaked by that point. But
I gotcha. Well, I just re-downloaded The Seventh Guest on my phone and I cannot wait to play it on the plane. I'm like so amped that they remastered The Seventh Guest. If you don't know what The Seventh Guest is, please check it out. It's cheap on iOS. It's also available on Steam if you prefer to play that way. If you're like me and you loved The Seventh Guest and you did not hear that they made a remaster, well, it's your lucky day. They made one. It's basically like a thriller puzzle game that's very much like set in this spooky mansion. And you have to go through these rooms, and a lot of it's like FMV. It's very throwback, very 90s, and I'm pumped to play it. So that aside, you guys know that I talk about one of my favorite authors, Brandon Sanderson. I've talked about him a couple of times. I'm rereading the Stormlight Archives right now. I'm just finishing book 3. But one of his other franchises that I think would make a really fantastic video game is the Mistborn series. So in this series, they have these things called allomantic powers that are associated with different types of metals. And you are, the lead character is an allomancer. Well, technically she's Mistborn. And what Mistborn means is that you have all of the allomantic powers available to you. And there are different allomancers. So some can use steel to push objects in the world. And I don't have all of the exact metals lined up correctly. I'm definitely going to get them wrong. Maybe I should look them up just to be sure. Because somebody out there is going to be like, Andrea, you got that thing wrong.
They would never.
No, they absolutely would. They'd be like, bitch, you dumb. You don't actually read the Mistborn books. That's what they would say.
Do you even actually read?
Yeah. So
Do you
like,
read, bro?
You don't even know what Mistborn means.
It means you were born in mist.
That's my internet troll voice. I should just go grab one of the books and look up what the actual like allomancy metals are. So steel is pushing on nearby metals, iron or lurcher pulls on nearby, zinc inflames, brass dampens, pewter increases physical abilities, so et cetera, right? So like tin eyes, for example, if they ingest tin particles, it'll increase their physical senses so that they can like hear things really far away or see in really dark places, for example. And so like the whole concept of the book is that there's these allomancers, people who are born with these powers, and they carry these vials of metal shavings around, and then they'll like drink this liquid with the metal shavings in it, and then it will give them the powers of whatever metal that they've ingested. But Mistborn can consume all different kinds of metals and have all of the powers at once, which is really cool. And they use coins to fly around the world. So they'll carry these coin sacks, and then they'll like throw the coins at the ground and kind of use them to push and pull off of various things in the world. And so like if there's like a giant metal building, they can use that if they have the power to like pull themselves towards it or things like that. It's a really cool concept for a book. I actually have the Mistborn coin, the custom coin set that they did a Kickstarter for last year, which is really kind of super nerdy and something I probably shouldn't admit on air. But I really loved this series, and the reason why I think it would make a great video game is because it's so ripe to be an RPG, to like level up your allomantic powers and to ultimately become Mistborn and have all of these different abilities at once. Or if you wanted to spec out create a character, you could choose which kind of allomancer you wanted to be. Or if you were going to, once you become, and then like once you level up to Mistborn, you can choose like what your specialty is. If you're going to specialize in, bronze, detecting allomantic pulses, or if you wanted to specialize in iron, or for example, or whatever. And I think that it just lends itself so well to like an action RPG kind of experience. It would be such a fun world to visit in the setting of a video game.
That sounds cool. I'd be down.
Yeah.
I like to eat
I'd
metal.
play it. I like to eat metal.
Well, and they have some really cool like bad bosses options as well, like the big bads at least in the first book. And I mean, it goes into the other books as well. They just have like a really great set of characters, both in the original trilogy and in the Alloy of Law, which is like the complementary trilogy, which is set like hundreds and hundreds of years after the first set. And they have these creatures. So they have the Lord Ruler, who was like the big bad boss guy. So he would make like a really good final boss fight. But then they have these other guys, kind of his henchmen, so to speak. And they are not mist wraiths. What is the name of those things? I'm looking in the wiki to try to see if I can figure out what the name of these guys are. But essentially they have like, they're really scary. They're very powerful. And they've got like metal spikes for faces. And they're kind of
misters.
Yeah, they're kind of undead because there's this blood magic in this world where you can imbue allomantic powers in somebody if you pierce spikes through their body.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really kind of fucked up if you think about it.
Wait, so like if your blood has iron in it, technically, is that enough for like you drink someone's blood? Would that work?
I don't think so, because there's a special ritual that needs to be done when you pierce somebody with these special spikes in order to imbue the allomantic powers on the person that you're spiking them into. So essentially, like there's like this ritual where they would take like an allomancer and they would put spikes through their body into somebody else's body underneath, and then the person underneath would get the powers, and then the person on top would obviously die. It's weird, but like there's like a lot of like kind of dark stuff that would make for good like battles between like light and dark,
like good baddies. Yeah,
good baddies.
It's a really fantastic series. It's really great. And then there's a whole nother, hemorrhagy is the name of that blood magic. And then there's another type of magic, a furectomy. I don't know how to say it, but essentially it would be really cool if they made it into a video game series or a video game and they just called it Mistborn. I'd be down. Make it happen, somebody.
Make it happen. What about, and I don't know if you guys can talk about this without spoilers. I mean, I know you can. I believe in you. What about Game of Thrones?
So they've tried that.
Yeah, there have been a few attempts.
And was it just the Telltale, or are there others?
No, there were several
like
others.
Mobile game.
Yeah, there's the mobile game. There's a brand new, well, relatively new browser game that is a lot like the game that I used to play a lot of, the Hobbit Kingdoms of Middle Earth. This like kind of real-time RTS game where I started to play and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to walk away. I was like, this is an addiction waiting to happen, especially since it's Game of Thrones, because I really I got hooked into that. Thank goodness it's browser only, because if it was on my phone, I probably would be playing a lot of it. But because it's browser based, I'm like, no, because you guys know I don't play games on PC, because if I'm on a computer, I'm working. I'm not playing a game. This is why primarily why I don't play games on computer, because I can't stop myself from checking email and working when I'm on a computer, and when I'm at a console, obviously I'm not checking email. So, I mean, every once in a while I'll check on my phone, but for the most part I can kind of tunnel vision into the game. But they made an RPG as well, but it was not very good. And it's like the Wheel of Time. I would love a proper Wheel of Time game, but they've also made those and kind of failed at them in the past. And we haven't gotten a proper Game of Thrones game either. And I don't know if we ever will, because I feel like somebody either has to do a really good narrative adventure game like Telltale attempted to do, but they really messed up the art style. of that game.
Yeah, I did not. Yeah, it was not.
The writing was actually very well done, and I appreciated that they made it very Game of Thronesy in the contextual things that in the choices that they made. Like, there were some really tough choices in that game, but the uncanny valley of them trying to make these real likenesses of like Cersei and Tyrion in the game of like the Telltale art style, it was bad. It was just bad. It was really disappointing. But there's really not a lot of conflict and combat options. There's a couple of big battle sequences in Game of Thrones, but there's not like a lot of ongoing combat like you would get in like the Lord of the Rings world, where there's just like orcs roaming around everywhere.
I think it could be cool to do essentially Age of Empires, and each faction kind of gets its own thing, and I mean it wouldn't be necessarily really tied to the narrative of the game, but you could you have your Dorne army or whatever, like you will just try to take over all of Westeros. I think that could be cool, and it would be not really Game of Thrones is really, I mean, obviously there are a lot of wars, but more about the political sly shit in the dark, like backstabbing kind of thing. But I don't know. I still think it might be interesting to do like an Age of Empires with it.
Yeah, like a tactical type game or an RTS. I mean, I think those genres lend themselves well to what's happening in Game of Thrones. I agree. I just don't know if anyone's going to do it.
Probably not.
Especially with how mixed bag this final season was with the fans. It's like half the people are like, I'm totally cool with it. The other half are like, I fucking hate what they do with the series. It's hard to take a read on if people want a Game of Thrones game.
You will be able to finish reading the books in 20 years.
Or never.
If that, or never. But I'm giving him some leeway.
What about the Babysitters Club?
Oh, that was a Twitter thread with Joey. Joey, I think, talked about this. And I was like, yeah, it would be funny. I think it could actually be like a decent mobile game.
Yeah, it definitely could be a decent mobile game. And that makes me think of Sweet Valley High. Oh, man.
Oh, Sweet Valley High. Oh, my God. That was the other. I read Sweet Valley High a lot.
Did you have the board game? The Sweet Valley High board game?
I don't know. Did I? I'll have to look at it.
It was amazing. We should totally get it if it's still available on eBay or something.
I would totally do that if I can find it.
Babysitter's Club's classic, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no,
like, yeah, the mobile game would be perfect because you'd just be kind of like, it would be similar to like Game Dev Story, those things where you're just like trying to rack up as many babysitting jobs as possible. How can I micromanage this and like make sure that I'm making the most profit?
That's so good.
That would be awesome. Oh, now I want to reread Mistborn.
Get it for your flight. You have a long flight coming up, girl.
I know, but I can only bring one book because, I have to. I'm bringing my Switch too, so. Yes. But now I got to read his Dark Materials.
Yep. I would recommend those because they're short, or they're fast reads.
So should I bring two?
Yes.
Okay. I could read.
I mean, if you can find all of them in paperback, just get all of them. They'll come in a set.
That was my plan, was to get them all and then bring one with. But if they're a quick read, I might need to bring two.
That would be good.
Yeah. Oh, I love reading, you guys. Reading's so much fun. It makes me sad. It hurts my heart a little bit, Brittany, that you're not reading. I
know. And you know what I love doing? This is going to sound really weird. I love just going to Barnes & Noble. I love just browsing and perusing because I love the idea that every book is an adventure within, right? There's a story to be told. There's characters to me. It whisks you away. But then I just never set aside the time to do it. So I love going to Barnes & Noble and just looking through the horror section or looking through the fantasy section or looking at the games. There's just something about a bookstore that's so peaceful.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. I love
bookstores. Yeah. I kind of want to go to a bookstore now.
It's a little late at night tomorrow. You can go to a bookstore tomorrow.
In London.
For my birthday, I'll go to a bookstore. Let's go.
Great. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's tomorrow. That's so exciting. Well, I mean, people listening to this, it will have already happened, but.
Yes.
But yeah.
You missed it. You missed her birthday, you monsters.
You monsters.
It's not too late. Send her a happy belated birthday gift. You got one in your repertoire.
Yeah, That's the thing. Getting older, I don't know about you ladies. I'm not ever so excited about my birthday, but it's the birthdays of the people I care about that I'm like, yeah, it's your birthday. Let's go. Let's go do shots and drinks and get cake. And they're like, you're crazy. I don't know.
I think it's good to celebrate people because we so often don't celebrate ourselves. We get so wrapped up in our responsibilities and obligations and our stress in our life that we don't stop to say, hey, you know what? I'm alive. I'm breathing. Life is maybe not the best, but at least I'm not dead.
There you go.
I made it another year.
Celebrate getting older, climbing the hills, living your life. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I gotta get on that filler train. Gotta do all the injections.
The Botox and the fillers.
Yeah, bring it on.
Gotta preserve that 25-year-old skin that you have.
I see what you did there. That's very nice of you. All right, do we have any other books that we would like to make into video games?
Chicka Chicka Boom Boom.
Wait, what's that?
Oh God, no! It's a children's book. You don't remember? It's the really bright palm trees. The words are like chicka chicka boom boom.
I do remember I remember that those. I have to Google it because I remember yes, but not quite.
It would be like Patapon, but not.
Oh my God, that would actually be hilarious.
Patapon, but not. One of the books that I thought of was The Phantom Toll Booth, but I don't know what kind of a book or what kind of a video game that would be.
Phantom Toll Booth is a great book.
It is a great book. I just haven't read it in a while, but it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if... gosh, there's so many good books. Now that I'm thinking about it, and I remember I went back and watched or started to read the book for the movie. Oh my gosh, the movie that Oprah was in.
Wrinkle in Time.
The Wrinkle in Time. I went back and read that book in advance of the movie. And I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a children's book. It's been a while since I've read this. So it's hard sometimes to go back to really young adult fiction. I mean, like teen reader stuff I think is pretty fine. Like I remember when I read the Hunger Games series for the first time, I was like, oh yeah, this is what teen books are. I forgot. But it was still pretty good.
Full of ink. Was there, I don't remember this that well. Maybe it was The Giver. Would that be make for a good game? Because isn't that the thing where you're a teen? Did you read this?
Yeah,
anyway?
I've read The Giver. I don't think it would make a good game.
Okay. Is it the one where you're like the kid and the dude gives you the memories and okay. Oh, okay. I don't remember enough of it to dictate.
It's a fucked up book.
Oh, is it?
A little bit toward the end, yeah.
Okay. I remember our teacher read it to our whole class in the 6th grade. And at that time, I was like, I don't want to listen to my teacher read to me.
You want to read on your own.
What else I did.
It's basically like everyone in that society has their role, and that's it. Like you can do nothing else.
Oh, but The Giver is the one that opens the dude's mind to what life should be.
Basically, I'm trying to remember exactly. I remember basically like he escapes the thing or blows it all up. Not literally blows it all up.
Punts it all under the sun.
Yeah. Basically, the society was no bueno.
Well, that's not good.
You guys, I'm really thinking about this Mistborn game now. Like, if this was like some kind of surprise E3 reveal, I would like lose my fucking mind. You know how Brittany lost her mind at Resident Evil 2 last year? It would be like that. Like, yeah, it would never happen, which is sad. But like, if it did, that's what would happen to me.
Your brain would explode into chunks.
Yeah, they would like open on Vin, and they've got like this amazing female protagonist too. It would be so cool.
Telling you got to go to one of those PAX panels where you go pitch your game,
right? Because this game would be really difficult to make. It would have to be AAA in order to do it right.
Yeah, it sounds neat. It sounds a little like Infamous-y, but with only metal powers.
That's a perfect analogy. It would be very Infamous-y. Yeah. With different kinds of powers. Yeah. And they get to wear these cool cloaks, Steimer.
Oh my God, cloaks. Capes. Sign me up. Yeah.
Say no more. You got her. You got your first customer.
I'm on board.
Yeah, they got special.
Clearly, Andrea, all you
cloaks.
need to do is quit your job at everything you currently do and learn coding and game development, and then come up with a few $100 million
design,
and you'll be fine.
Art. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Sounds like a great plan.
So how about when I win the lottery someday, I'll fund a studio to make the Mistborn game.
We will expect the Mistborn game series produced by Andrea Renee in 2030.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's sooner than I anticipated.
I'm not gonna give you. You gotta get on it.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
No, I'll give you a little more time.
Time in the
2040.
sand. 20, what, 33?
We can say 2040.
2040. Okay, I got 20 years to make this happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, got it.
I think that's a reasonable amount of time.
Yes, hopefully sooner, but I'll work on it. All right. We hope you guys enjoyed this secret segment. If you have ideas that you would like us to talk about, please keep an eye out for those polls that we do post on the Patreon feed. And if you're listening to this on YouTube after it has gone public, please do consider heading to patreon.com/whatsgoodgames and becoming part of our fantastic community there, joining our memberships. We have a variety of options and help support everything we do here at What's Good Games. Until next time, have a good one, everybody. Bye.